All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I know a lot of people are still coming in, but if you could also mute yourselves so that we can put the focus on the speakers tonight, appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and pin the speakers here. And so tonight is our second industry summit sponsored by the Virginia Film Office. Andy Edmunds, thank you for everything that you do for Virginia and for sponsoring this event tonight. Really appreciate it. This is the second industry summit that we've done on a quarterly basis, and these kind of take the place of the State of the Industry events that we've had for years and years, and until hopefully COVID can start to wash away. And hopefully we can actually have in-person events. I'm crossing my fingers sometime in the fall or winter. So thank you again. So I want to kick off while everyone is still kind of coming in here, our DPA elections were just held this past month. And unless there's any objections from the memberships, I'm going to go ahead and close the vote. Or close the vote and close the nominations and introduce your 2021-2022 slate of trustees. And forgive me, I didn't put everyone's photos on these slides. It's been a hectic week, but everyone's returning, or we have everyone on this slate is returning from last year. Except for Tom Sanchez-Prunier, who took a year off and is back on the board. So joining Tom is Tom Belgray, myself, Cahill Dote, Fiela Epps, Dave Hobbs, Lars Sandick, Barbara Streetler, Steve Taylor, David Patrick Whittle, Shanna Dia Nicole, Craig Martin, Jake Pulliam, and Glennon McEachern. So congratulations to our new board of trustees. And I'm glad to have so many people on this slate that's returning from last year with the leadership experience. It's great to have this brain trust year after year. So next up is why you're really here, which is to hear about the panelists and what they have to say about what's going on in Virginia and their organizations. So I'd like to introduce Andy Edmunds, the Executive Director of the Virginia Film Office. If you don't know who Andy is, and maybe you're new to the industry or new to Virginia, Andy's been with the Virginia Film Office for, Andy, I don't want to say 25 years, but has it been 25?
It's pretty close. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 97. Yeah, there you go. Getting very close. Gosh, I was only 13 when I started, obviously. It was a middle school internship project when I started, obviously. Right?
Next up is Katy Jones-Garrity, the Capital Region Chair for the Producers Guild of America. And Katy's joining us from the DC Nova area.
Hello.
And last but not least, Alison Rosa, and I couldn't fit everything on this slide, so but she's the Eastern AD/UPM Council Member and Committee Chair for the Eastern Regional Committee of the Directors Guild of America, and you're still working on DopeSec right now, which is filming here in Richmond, in the Richmond region.
Here in Richmond, that's correct. Yep.
So thank you for the three of you for agreeing to be on this panel. Of course, everyone here is really eager to hear about, the film industry and what's going on, the newest production activity in Virginia and the Mid-Atlantic region. And who wants to start by kind of giving us a brief overview of what your organization is seeing and the activity that's going on? Let's start with Alison since she was introduced last.
Well, so obviously I'm on a single project. I'm not seeing the big breadth of what's going on. I get a lot of calls about other shows. And I know Andy can speak a lot more about what's going on regionally, but I can say sort of nationally, there's just a tremendous amount of of production getting into prep and starting to roll. There was, I think everybody must have hoovered down the content during the pandemic, and it's been very hard for most of my producer friends to staff up for other shows. And I know we've had 3 shows in Richmond, and there are quite a few shows going into Baltimore. So there's a lot going on. I'm not really in touch with the Wilmington area, but there's definitely a lot going on, and it's getting harder and harder to staff up. But I think, like I said, Andy and maybe Katy can give us a better idea of DC, and Andy certainly for Virginia, and probably nationally, Andy's got a better handle on this.
Well, if you want me to jump in on that, Alison, I was going to set up first by a little celebration here to recognize an amazing friend and crew member who was just nominated for Academy Award for News of the World, Mr. David Crank. Has he spoken for the VPA yet for the panel? He's going to do a panel coming up, right?
No, we'd love to get him. Of course, he was in the Richmond Times-Dispatch recently, large article about him working on News of the World and Lincoln. But yeah, we'd actually love to nail him down and get a presentation done.
Super talented guy, great friend. Sorry, somebody said something.
I was just going to say, he is trying to line up something with us. This is Steve.
Steve,
Yeah. I knew I'd connected you guys, Steve. That's great because he'd be happy to do it. He's here with taking care of his parents right now, and it's just what an incredible talent. We're lucky to have him in Virginia. And then another kind of little headline here off the top here that I wanted to share with you guys. Our relationship with AMC has been it's hard to believe it's about a 10-year relationship with AMC. And starting with Turn season 1, I mean, AMC has probably been responsible for, over $200 million worth of production coming to Virginia. And a lot of that has been rooted in our partnership with Stefan Reinhardt, who's the president of AMC Studios, co-president of AMC Studios, and a super friend, and from Northern Virginia, ironically. And so Stefan has just been a friend for many, many years. He is leaving AMC, which we're sad to hear, but he's going to Fox. So he's still in the ecosystem, and he will still be a great partner of ours. But I was going to say, Mike, that it might be nice if we're going to certainly do something from the film office and from the governor's office to recognize Stefan's great contribution as a Virginian to the Commonwealth, that maybe we could do something from the VPA for Stefan Reinhardt, because he's been such an amazing partner for us. And it really is, as everyone here knows, these relationships we build over the years. I'm so honored to be on the panel with my colleagues in the PGA and the DGA here today, and the work we all do to try to keep the machine going here. And the machine is overwhelmed with demand for content and making content because there's so many platforms from which to consume it right now. If you're a young person trying to get into this industry now, if you can't get a job in this industry somewhere in the United States of America, I just don't know what the problem is. I mean, there's just so many opportunities to do it if you have the wherewithal and the tenacity to work your way in and work it and find somebody who's in it, and just kind of work the system to make yourself and put yourself in front of the people, to be willing to work for nothing just to get in the door. There are opportunities to move up because there's so much demand. Now, in Virginia right now, as Alison said, we've just wrapped up Swagger. It was the show, Dave O'Farrell, see you there. How you doing, my man? The show that took 2 seasons to shoot 1 season. God bless them. They had a lot of injuries, a lot of things that kind of held them up, but they got it done. And I hear it looks great. Apple's very happy with the project, and Reggie Bythewood was a great relationship and friendship to make there. And kind of staying on that same theme, like Mike said, I've been with the film office for 25 years. Over that time, I've made a lot of friends, and those friends, work leads to more work from the friends you've made before, right? It's relationship driven. And I got a call the other day from a really amazing project friend of mine. And she wants to bring this project to Virginia. And it's going to star Ewan McGregor and our buddy Ethan Hawke. And guess what? We're out of fuel, and that just breaks my heart because, I want them all, right? And this movie would be just a slam dunk for us location wise. It's about a $17 million budget. It's right in our wheelhouse of something we love to do. And we just do not have the fuel. So this is kind of the bit of a crisis mode that I want to convey to my friends in the VPA as the advocacy group here is that we've had a pretty good run here the last couple of years with the work that's in the pipeline on the incentive-driven work. But the way that we've been able to do that is you have to promise funds out for a couple of years. So we're basically like New York is they've committed out 2-3 years in some of their incentives. And they have like $400 million in the pot, and they're still 2 years out before you can get the check, 2 or 3 years. So we're in a similar situation now. We're running off post-dated checks, you know? So we really need some advocacy for the next year coming up, General Assembly. And hopefully this new budget session that's coming up, this mid-season budget session, we might get a little help there. So any kind of attention we can give through our lobbyists and through your organization to make this case. There's going to come a point here in the next 6, 7, 8 months where, you know, the bigger projects like HBOs or bigger companies, they can wait a few years to get their check. But smaller independent films, they want the check like 60 days after wrap, or they cannot function. So we're going to have a delay in workflow unless we can get more fuel into the magic machine here. And that's just a fact, you know. And I don't want to be facing the situation about a year from now where our members and our crew is going, what happened to all that work we used to have? I'm like, well, you know what? We spent it all, and it was good while it lasted, and good luck. Let's see what happens. You know, we need to get some more fuel in the engine. We need to be more competitive with North Carolina. North Carolina has 30. I think Dave up in Maryland, what do you have? 25 now, 30, something like that. No, 20. You're on mute, old man.
I know. 12. Yeah. We only have 12.
Okay, well, we have 9.5. See, you still Maryland, they have more than us. So our 9.5 does not go very far, but we've been pretty biblical in our way to multiply the loaves and the fishes to create the work here. But that is just, once again, that's the incentive-driven work. There's a lot of other great stories going on. This Vital Studios is moving to Richmond. Amazing AR, VR, extended reality opportunity into almost the gaming space and the virtual reality space, that they're going to have an LED wall set up in there, LED studio. And this is just where the future of storytelling is going to go to, in this three-dimensional space. We just need to be in the cutting edge of that. So we're taking some work out of Austin, Texas, and this company is going to be here. And I believe that's going to lead to other opportunities. And at the same time, there's still plenty of people out there that are doing the work that aren't depending on incentives. You know, there's a lot of commercial work going on, a lot of young independent filmmakers that are out there making it happen. When they reach out to our office, we help with small amounts, whatever amounts we can help, and whatever leverage we can do with our influence in government to help them gain access to unique locations. $1,000 to a young filmmaker making their first short film is more important to them than $3 million to Fox, right? You know, it's the make or break moment for an emerging storyteller. So I'm real excited about that. I'm real excited about the legacy that Reggie Bythewood has left here with our mission to really reach out to more diversity in the crew base here in the Commonwealth. And we're really taking that seriously. We have been before, but even more of an opportunity now to work with other groups to give opportunities to people that aren't often seen on the crew or represented in the crew or represented as storytellers. So we want to see that grow in Virginia. So we've got, a great mission that we keep moving forward. We've got a great team. Dope Sick, as Alison knows, is going to be here for another month or so to the end of May, something like that. I don't know what your out date is now, Alison, but something like that. And that's been a great, great partnership with those guys. And they're getting ready to produce some content for us behind the scenes of how wonderful it was to be in Virginia and the great experience. And it's hard, we do these commercial kind of added value pieces with production as part of our incentive program. And it's hard to create a tourism piece around the opioid crisis. Come to Virginia, get your oxy, come on out, So that was kind of a hard one to figure out, but we're going to do something that's focused on outdoor tourism and the fact that these rural areas that were most hardest hit by this opioid crisis actually have turned the nature of the remote locations around to turn these places into really desirable destinations for rural outdoor tourism and activity. So they're going to do a piece that kind of touches upon outdoor tourism in Virginia as part of our deliverable with the commercial piece. So it's been a great partnership with them that I know can lead to more work if we have more fuel in the engine. And Walking Dead, of course, they have transformed our beautiful world's largest period backlot out of State Farm into a post-apocalyptic hellhole, which is pretty amazing. But they have agreed to turn it back into a period set, because I think we'll have more marketability for a period set than we will for a post-apocalyptic set. Let's hope. So they're going to, turn that thing back around for us, and it's going to be once again a great asset for us. And so that's about all I can say now. I'm looking forward to some Q&A with you guys to see what you have in your mind. But I'm kind of solely focused on now how to fill the pot back up so we can keep the machine going. And at the same time, helping young people find their way maybe into this new media world of virtual reality and augmented reality and all that stuff that's happening with Vital and these other companies that will be a great opportunity for them.
Thanks, Andy.
Sure.
Katy, you were mentioning all the non-narrative or all the nonfiction work yesterday during our call. Do you want to discuss what you're seeing?
Well, I mean, our membership in the Producers Guild locally is a lot of nonfiction producers. I am a nonfiction producer myself. I think a lot of us in the COVID times have turned to archival pretty heavily and have not hired as much crew as we would have hoped in normal years. But I think nonfiction didn't slow down quite as much as narrative. I mean, the advantage to the small crews is you can kind of get away with a little bit of, you've got a small crew, it's easier to control, it's easier to get a bubble going, it's easier to make that work. So we've actually done better than some of our other Producers Guild regions in terms of keeping the workflow going because we've been so dependent on nonfiction. I think that is turning around. I think both to Alison and Andy's point, we, as lovely as it is that we didn't slow down as much, we did slow down a lot, and it has been a rough year, I think, for everyone. But recently, it's like, I would say within the past 2 or 3 months, I'm starting to get a ton of calls for people looking to staff up, looking for crew, looking for, locations, looking for all kinds of things. So I think there's been a ton of green lights that happened that nobody could get insurance on, that nobody could get COVID protocols on. And now, there's so much vaccines, the protocols are so established that it's a lot easier to get production going. And everybody's eager. There's a huge backlog. So we're excited about the next year and hopeful. Our membership, me, I'd like to work too. I mean, I am working, just to be clear. But I want to do more.
So it's really exciting for us to have the DGA and the VGA on this call. The VPA has not has traditionally kept close to IATSE and SAG, but I'm glad that we can invite both Katy and Alison on the line tonight. Katy, starting with you, do you mind describing the role of your organization in the DC, Virginia, Maryland area?
Sure. And I think the Producers Guild is a national organization, and it's very rooted in Los Angeles, which is where most of the membership are. In the DMV area, we are a much smaller region. We have a couple hundred members across DC, Virginia, and Maryland. There's a couple in Delaware too. And we're entirely volunteer led. So everybody that sits on the board is a working producer. And we really work to connect producers locally with each other and with the support and the education that they need to succeed here. And then we also try to just sort of connect producers here to the production community in LA and hopefully money in LA. That's really what we're trying to do. We want to help our producers to sell shows. And I mean, I do want to be clear. I think one of the ways that we're different than IA and SAG is that we are, I'm not an employee. I am a volunteer. So I'm advocating for my friends, really. But it does mean that we sometimes need a little bit of, what's the word? We support each other a lot. Sometimes you're going to get me, sometimes you're going to get my colleague because I'm on a shoot. So it's there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and do you mind explaining that the Producers Guild is not like usual unions or other guilds?
We are not a union. We are a source of support. We are a guild. Producers are not able to unionize legally because we're the quote unquote boss. So we work to support each other exclusively in a non-union capacity and support the other unions. But if you want to unionize, I'm totally for it.
Right, Alison, do you mind explaining the role of the DGA?
Sure. The DGA is obviously the Directors Guild of America. We have the largest part of our membership is directors, and then we have assistant directors, unit production managers, and we also have ADs, which support the news industry. So we have sort of three categories of membership, and we're a national union, and we are in fact a union, even though we're called a guild, which is a little different than the PGA. We don't have a union hall, and we don't sort of operate in the same way that the other unions do, because again, we're the bosses on most of the productions. So it's a lot of LA people. I'd say it's probably 50% LA, a quarter New York, and a quarter the rest of the country is covered by the guild. And I'm the chair of the Eastern Regional Committee, which represents everybody outside of New York and LA. It is the largest group outside of New York because we have more members that don't live in New York, and more we're finding people moving outside of LA. So it gives the people that aren't in LA a little bit of voice, a lot of advocacy, and sort of the same as Katy, support within each other. We're very disparate because I've got members in Florida and Atlanta and Kansas, and as far west as the Dakotas. So we're representing people from all over the country. The Eastern region goes way west, surprisingly west, for the Directors Guild. And so we're always a remote Zoom group, which is a little bit, I think that we found that we could get our footing during the pandemic. But so that's kind of what the DGA is up to. Like I said, it's the directors and the ADs supporting the directors and the unit production managers supporting the directors. And it really is very director oriented because they are sort of the leaders of the vision, and it's about managing the vision. And we're always looking for good new members.
Hey, Mike, if I could point out, Mike, as a result of this great leadership and experience of the guilds and the unions, PGA, DGA, SAG, IA, during COVID, we knew that this industry would figure out the logistics of how to handle this disaster, because making a movie, as I said before, is like disaster management, right? So they sat down, they studied everything, they brought in the experts, they came up with this plan. And I just want to give you some fun facts to show how the plan of the bubbles and the masking and the cleaning and everything really did work in a real world experience. So from Swagger, these are rough numbers, but they administered 25,000 PCR tests. PCR tests are the good tests that are not, the quick test. 25,000 PCR tests to a control group of about 300 people over 7 months. Out of those 25,000 tests, they had 30 positives, of which 25 came back negative, because what that means, it was actually a positive, but just a very small trace that when they did the second test, no longer positive. So they had 5 positive cases out of 25,000 tests over 7 months, 300 people. Those 5 people quarantined and went back to work, So that's a 0.02% infection rate, according to my math that I had someone else figure out for me. And that is pretty amazing. So it just shows that, this industry figured out how to do it safely. We were the first tourists out of the gate. The hospitality industry was destroyed by this pandemic. So the first tourists going into hotels were production people, So this is something we're trying to tie in on as this COVID relief money goes around for hospitality industry. Film production people are hospitality industry participants, you know, with the hotel rooms that we use. So can make a case to help us with the incentive request. So I just wanted to point out that fun fact of the data that we just recently got from Swagger, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that'd be really useful when, you know, talking to legislators and of course our new lobbyist, Matt Benedetti.
Absolutely.
So you know, going back to Alison, you know, Andy just explained how people pivoted, how crew members pivoted during COVID. How did the DGA successfully pivot during the pandemic?
Well, I think the PGA, along with the IA and SAG and the DGA, we were very instrumental in the return to work agreement. I mean, that was it, and it was really unprecedented when you think about it, because we've never all come together and done this one big thing. I mean, we all go to negotiations every other year separately with the producers and negotiate our own contracts, make our own templates for everything. And this was the first time that all of the guilds and unions got together, and it took a while. I mean, it took probably longer than any of us really wanted to hammer out this white paper and then finally get a return to work agreement. But it's really changed, I think, the way that we cooperate in the long run. So the DGA in particular didn't really pivot any different than all of the other guilds and unions. We just came together, and I think it gave the unions a reason to come together and say, look, we all need our members to get back to work. We all need this to happen. The return to work agreement's pretty substantial. It covers a lot of ground. And since then, the membership really follows the agreement. I mean, that my show can keep up. We only paused once for a 12-hour pause on a false positive. And it's because we have members. All of the crew are wearing their masks. They all wear their face shields when they're anywhere near a zone A or near an actor. We all get tested 3 times a week. Well, most of us get tested 3 times a week. They all go home and practice safe things, I guess, because they're not coming back with positives. So it's not like they're out partying. And so I think it was, I'd have to say it was a collaborative effort with all the guilds and unions to make it happen. I can't say that the DGA in particular pivoted. I mean, we, of course, internally started having a lot more Zoom meetings, which allowed my committee, the Eastern Regional Committee, to get really involved, because everybody was like, oh, geez, we don't actually have to go to New York for our meetings. We can actually do this. It makes it a little difficult in terms of networking, and we're obviously not going to screenings and things like that. But you know, so that internally the DGA, I think, pivoted pretty well. But again, I think it was a really collaborative effort with all the guilds and the unions, and it was critical. And I think one of the best things to come out of this was that all of these groups can come together, and we're stronger together. And we really showed it, that we were stronger together and could make it work, and everybody stuck by the game plan, and they go back and they look at it on a monthly basis and tweak it every now and again. So.
Great. And thanks, Alison. Moving on to Katy, how did your membership pivot during the pandemic?
Well, I guess there's a couple of different ways to approach the question, really. We have nationally, one of the things that I appreciated about the Guild was that they moved very quickly to online education, and particularly online education about the COVID protocols, about the white papers coming out, about how to apply this to your crew so that you could work safely and people could work safely. And so that was something that was really fundamentally helpful, and it was fundamentally helpful to our membership in this region, because a lot of times our region doesn't get to appreciate everything that is part of being a part of a national organization. So being able to be a part of those conversations and be a part of that education was actually, I think, a really robust response and very helpful. that we could stay as educated as the members in LA about those protocols. Because we are, again, a largely nonfiction region, one of the things the Producers Guild too was they created COVID protocols with a more directed sense for nonfiction producers. They got a group of nonfiction producers together to ask, like, how do you really work? Some of the protocols, around talent, around these big studio productions aren't necessarily applicable to nonfiction producers. So it was really, really helpful to have sort of a practical application come out of that. Locally, I would say right after the shutdown, I had a meeting with our membership and I said, what do you need? And the answer was, they wanted to keep meeting. We had a happy hour group that's really fun, if I say so myself. But we had a lot of networking opportunities. We did a lot of education. We always try to bring in funders to our members so that they can hear what people want pitched, and they wanted that to continue. So we pivoted very quickly. We have a weekly call with our members. We try to bring in speakers. We try to bring in people who are looking for pitches. We don't provide pitching per se, but we try to connect people who are looking for content so that they can describe what they're looking for, so our members can continue to pitch, hopefully sell shows, hopefully get people working. So we've been really pleased. We feel like we've come together, but I do miss happy hour. I would like that to come back.
I think a lot of us miss happy hour. But Alison, did the DGA reach out to its members and offer anything?
We did a lot of, I think not quite as much because I'm a member of the PGA. So I get that I'm getting both sets of emails about and slates. The DGA definitely did do a lot more education. We did a lot more sort of interviews, webinars with directors, which I think at the very beginning of the pandemic, and that was pretty quick how fast that came up, but a lot of really kind of high level directors because nobody was working. So, that Ron Howard was perfectly willing to sit down and take questions, and so it was great that way. I think that really opened up the floodgates for people to get right inside his home, which was a little strange, but and get access to some of our A-list players and talk about what they really needed to learn about. So I think that was one thing we did. Again, I think that the PGA has definitely done a really remarkable job on the education effort. We certainly do, but not to the extent. The PGA's really done some great programming. All of our members have been now, this is the great thing, is that all of our membership meetings are online. They're on Zoom. So you can actually go, because there are a lot of people that have been disenfranchised for a really long time. You don't know what the boards are doing in New York. You have no idea. And we have a directors council. We have an ADUPM council. We have an associate directors council. We have all kinds of steering committees. And now you can go to any of those meetings as a DGA member, and people couldn't do that before. So we're actually really thinking, like, moving forward, when we're back at the board, in the boardrooms, how do we want to keep this inclusive? Like, what makes sense? So I think pandemic wise, that was one of the great things that came out of it. The great thing, a couple great things that right within the DGA, one, that we can collaborate with the other guilds and unions really effectively, and two, that we can be more inclusive of a membership that's spread really wide. And we did have people come in tune in from the UK and other countries. Some of them, it's a little hard because of the time difference. But so within the DGA, we were able to do sort of the same thing in terms of just opening it up to more members to be included.
If I can dovetail on that just a little bit, one of the things that was really interesting is when we opened up our weekly call, we opened it up to all PGA members. So it's primarily DMV members that come, but we do have a lot of attendees who come in from New York and LA who are just really curious about our community and our industry. And they're very curious about the employers and the funders that we have sort of easy access to, that we've sort of maybe even started to take for granted. And they're very willing to share their access to other folks. I've always said, if your contacts aren't working for you, you got to share them, because maybe they're not right for you, but you can give them to somebody else and maybe get something back. And I think that's something that we've really been excited about seeing. I know Andy came in and spoke to our group, and we had a lot of members attend from elsewhere who were really curious about Virginia. And I think it's just been really exciting. I have a lot of new friends that I only know in 2 dimensions, but it's been a good experience.
And we did a network, or not a network, we did a meet the commissioners for the Eastern Regional Committee, but the DGA did a meet the commissioners, which Andy had a lot of great things to say at and shared at. And so we had commissioners from Maryland and North Carolina, Georgia, New Orleans, and I think we skipped Texas on that one. But anyway, it was really interesting because there were people that tuned in from all over. We had New Yorkers and people from LA tuning in, and we had a great turnout. And it was sort of surprising that people from New York and LA were really interested in seeing. And I think it was great. They wanted to see, what do these states have to offer? And it was a great way to get our membership that are in New York and LA, and especially because New York right now is buried in work. They're going to have to stop. I mean, at some point they don't have the crew base. So people are going to have to start going elsewhere, and hopefully they come to Virginia. And now we've got these people, the directors and some of the production managers and some producers that are more familiar with what we have to offer, just by virtue of being able to do a Zoom meeting like that. And I think things like that are good that came out of the pandemic, and critical in terms of getting information out there and supporting the community here.
Mm-hmm. Andy, it sounds like you've been pretty popular during COVID.
Communication has been amazing. That has been an upside of this, that I have experienced more opportunities to reach more people more conveniently, and people that normally you would not have access to are sitting at home that you can dial in with. So for groups looking to find mentors that they might not be able to fly in to a film festival or whatever, it really has been quite valuable in that regard. I had a question for Alison and the DGA, and maybe for Dave too, and for Katy too, but how's vaccination distribution going on set there, Alison, with Dope Sick? What's the percentage of people that have it? Because there's a challenge there. We have an actor from out of state come from California, and they're on a list in California, and they come here. What do? Do I get on the list here? I'm like, hell yes, get on the list here. So how are we doing? And I know we have a whole COVID compliance department. Are they able to get you guys in the queue with everything you need? No.
So interestingly, no, Disney didn't. It wasn't like Disney went out and bought mega doses and then started shipping them. Like some shows, you go and you get your flu shot on every fall they do a flu shot clinic to get everybody vaccinated that wants to be vaccinated. So that did not happen. And I think it's a major liability issue that the studios don't want to get involved in. What has happened though is, because we're all like, my zip code, when I'm not working, my zip code's Northern Virginia. I couldn't get a vaccine if my life depended on it in Northern Virginia. It's terrible. And so I used the zip code here in Richmond, and 3 days later, 1 day later, I got an email that says you're eligible. By 3 days, I had my vaccine. And then I started talking to other people about it, and they're like, oh yeah, we came down from Arlington. Our friends had, so they started coming to Richmond to get vaccinated because it was so much easier. And out in Clarksville, Virginia, I mean, other places in sort of the Southwest area had tons of appointments available. And Northern Virginia and Maryland and DC, nothing. So we did find a lot of our crew has been vaccinated. We don't actually have percentages because we're kind of not allowed to ask. It's just only by talking to people that I know who's been vaccinated. Our entire office has been vaccinated. I think the last person got their second dose just the other day, so that we're, in theory, in 2 weeks, the entire office is in good shape. But Disney will not drop the protocols, and neither will we, because there have been a couple cases on I think 2 Disney shows had somebody who had been vaccinated, but still came down with a mild case of COVID. So, our agenda on our show is, because we would completely shut down if somebody like a director, a DP, there are a handful of people that if they got COVID, we'd just be sitting there doing nothing for too long and too much money. So we are consistently having to work to protect them. And that being said, everybody that's been vaccinated, they're still amazing at wearing masks, and we wear face shields pretty religiously. On top of having just sanitizer and hand washing stations and everything. So we haven't dropped any protocols, and boy, would we like to. I mean, it'd just be really nice to be able to eat your lunch with somebody.
Right.
We have these giant separating things on tables, and you can only have 2 people at a 6-foot table, and it's just bizarre. It really is it's an isolating, bizarre experience, whereas lunch and breakfast was always sort of this communal time, and it was a problem-solving time. And we'd get together and talk about the next day's work or the next week's work or the next block of work or whatever. And so it is a little strange. I think everybody is ready to run out and get hearing aids pretty soon, because you can't hear anybody with face masks and a face shield on. But so we haven't changed any protocols, but I would suspect, just from my own sort of talking to people, I'd say almost 80% of the people on our set are vaccinated.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
I on the tails of that, do you ever think that sets will ever go back to being normal again, or do you think that
they never were normal?
I actually don't. I mean, do I think that we're going to be at some point maskless? I really hope so. But personally, I feel like this is probably not the end of what we're going to see in terms of viral spreads. I don't know how about it. Like, I don't want to call it another pandemic on its heels, but it's been a long time coming. And I think that what we have seen is that, very few people have gotten colds. Very few people have gotten the flu. Maybe this was the way. So, we haven't had people checking out because they're sick, both COVID wise and from the flu and from colds. And so, do I think we're ever going to go back? I really hope we get rid of face shields. They are really, really annoying. And I would really like to think that we can go back to some version of eating as a more normal crew and sort of a more collaborative environment that way, because it's really hard. Even when the actors are sitting on set, they have these giant barriers, these plexiglass barriers, and it's just weirdly isolating. I mean, everybody's standing so far away from each other, so you can't even, it's hard to communicate, and it's isolating. So I
think by the fall, we're going to wash our hands a lot. We're all going to be washing our hands a lot more than we ever did. But I don't think we're going to be running around with masks and plexiglass in the fall. It's going away. People are going to set it on fire.
I think the plexiglass and the dividers are going to go away. I think we're going to keep hand sanitizer stations. But I wouldn't be surprised if we kept masks. That wouldn't surprise me.
I hope not. Not. Although, in Asia, you see it all over Japan, like even before this. You're right. But I hope not. It's so hard to read, body language and just communicate in so many different ways. I think just people, look, there are already people in the middle of the pandemic wouldn't wear a mask. That stuff is going on fire in the fall. It is the mask is going away. Alison, you will be the lone masked ranger walking around set.
I'm the first one I'm like, it's almost pathetic to be the COVID manager, and I'm the one who's like walking around the hall because I forgot mine, because I just hate, I definitely, I'll be in that bonfire with you. Like, I'll throw all our excess in there right with you. But I just don't, I think realistically, the studios are gonna, I don't know. I think the fall might be a little ambitious too. I mean, I think 2022, I think we should hope to be back to a more normal production environment. I hope.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Katy, what are your thoughts?
I think the fall is very ambitious. I think we'll be wearing masks for a very long time. I think the studios won't want to drop all of the protocols. It was really hard to get insurance for productions to get off the ground. It was really hard to get this stuff going. I don't think people are ready to let it go yet. All you need is one outbreak, and then your show's done. And nobody wants to be that show that let the protocols down, and then everybody, whatever was COVID or whatever's coming after COVID, because we didn't have the flu and we've got low immune systems. So
this time last year, I would have thought August of 2020 we'd all be back on set.
Right.
So it's like, I guess I'm going to stop prognosticating because I was dead wrong on that one.
All right, well, thank you for all of your thoughts. For the last 10 minutes that we have together, because I want to respect everyone's time, I want to go ahead and open it up to Q&A from the audience. And the first question that we've gotten is from Brooke Evan Lawson Miller. And the question is Katy interested in hearing creative nonfiction pitches? I wrote a feature and it's becoming a limited series that is based at the turn of the century. When our creative team finished our pitch deck, Disney came out with news that they are doing a film about the same subject. So I'm waiting to view that film. Is that a good idea, or should I be looking for investors now?
Look for a lawyer. Sorry.
he's not wrong. This is a longer topic for offhand. I don't know that as an unofficial representative of the PGA, I'm not permitted to take pitches, but as a human being who works in this industry, I'm happy to talk about it offhand, off sides. If you want to send me an email, I will put my name in the chat and we can talk.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
I know this is being recorded, but just for the record, that was completely unofficial, not PGA thing at all.
Thanks for your question.
There's nothing.
Thank you.
And so, we do have a couple of entertainment lawyers who are sponsors of the VPA. So please go to our website. One of them is Schroeder Books. The other one is, Bennett. Oh gosh, I'm embarrassing myself at this point.
Is it in the thing, in the chat?
Well, Cahill just mentioned Kirk Schroeder.
Kirk Schroeder. Kirk
Okay.
Schroeder.
Yep, who was our sponsor of the year last year. But we also have another law firm who is a sponsor as well. So
Dunlap, Bennett, and Ludwig. Kirk Klaus.
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Lauren Minks of Borowski Fritz LLP is also an entertainment attorney with board member as well. So this is all going into the chat. So if you have any questions, please put them into the chat. Katy, I mentioned to you yesterday that I was really impressed with the PGA workshop that you guys had a couple of years ago. It was the unit production manager, budget
Line producer
budget breakdown. I thought it was fantastic. I spent the weekend up in DC doing that. What are your organizations doing from a virtual learning platform? Are you still having workshops except that they're Zoom, or what are you offering your members and non-members?
Unfortunately, we haven't offered non-members very much. Typically, the PGA, at least in this region, we do offer a lot of our workshops for non-members. Frankly, it's a good recruitment tool for us. But since COVID, because everything's online and free, they have decided to keep it to members only for the most part. We have had quite a few workshops. One of the best ones I thought, I sort of co-chair the education committee nationally, was a series on podcasting, because a lot of producers were moving to podcasting in the COVID, and there was a 5-part series on that. I did not produce it. I just smiled a lot and took notes. But we've done a lot of those types of things. We haven't, I felt like the line producer workshop is one that we really want to offer again, but we really want to offer it in person because part of that, there's a type of learning that comes with that particular workshop that I think is very hands-on and doesn't translate well to the virtual environment. And also because we do want to offer it to non-members. Part of our mission here in this region, because we are filmmakers here and this is our personal life, is to, share what we can and to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to make great content. So I hope that that's one of the first ones on our list to do once we can do in-person events again. I don't know if I really answered your question. I feel like I just babbled on about but we've done quite a bit, but it hasn't been open to non-members, but we are trying to make sure that our members are well educated and able to take advantage of every new opportunity that's coming up since COVID.
Alison, what about the DGA? It's mostly membership or member education?
Yeah, it is. It is 100% members and member education. There's pretty much not. I don't think there's anything available to non-members even on the membership site. It's a pretty closed little community that way. But we've done it. We have continued to do a lot of member education, and we're doing one coming up in the fall. We're doing a networking, how to network remotely, like the best practices of Zoom networking and career coaching remotely, since so many people have had to do that. There's also another one going on, and it sort of goes into the line producing of it. It's all about budgeting, and we can do that remotely because everybody's using basically the same budgeting program. So, if people are really interested in that kind of thing, I just say EP does a great job with YouTube, in terms of budgeting and scheduling. They've got great tutorials on YouTube. But those programs are really, I think, and Katy could answer this, I think they're very, very specific to entertainment, the Movie Magic programs, the entertainment partner programs. So we've continued to do a lot of member education. And I think that, the one way to get into the guild is through the producers 80 UPM training program in New York and LA. And I imagine they've been doing a lot of outreach because there's certainly a lot of effort, particularly now, to get new people in there. But they're relatively small programs. I think LA gets between 25 and 30 new trainees a year, and New York gets, depending on demand, between 5 and 10. So they're pretty small programs.
So Alison, with those programs, is there are there a certain number of slots, and then those the numbers that you just described are the number of slots, or those total applicants that are admitted into the program?
Wait, what was the second part of the question?
So you were mentioning the slots that, or the participants in the mentorship. How many applicants typically send in their work or apply for the?
Gosh, that changes every year, but the percentage that gets in is, it's like maybe 2% of the applicants get in, and it's a kind of wildly long involved, like you take a test, which is akin to the Minnesota multi-phase personality test. You have interviews, then you go do a group, like for lack of a better thing, like a group therapy session with other candidates and see how it goes. And then you have one-on-one interviews with the board of trustees. So by the time you've gotten to that, you're five events deep into this application pool. You have better luck getting into Stanford probably, but it's a great program. It just is, it's really grueling and intensive once you get in. And it's also not for directors. So if you're looking to direct, people who want to direct, if you've directed something, you can join the Directors Guild of America. So that's sort of, and there's no reason to go through the 80 UPM training program if you want to direct. In fact, you probably get stuck you know, where you don't want to be. So yeah, it's, the Directors Guild does have a little bit of an issue in terms of just outreach and getting more people to join. It's, you know, mostly what we see joining are the PAs that have spent their 600 days slogging through sets and handing out walkie batteries and, you know, being set PAs, and then they can join the DGA. But like I said, if you're a director and you've directed, why then you just done.
So the next question is, I'm going to ask you directly to Andy and see if Andy has any ideas on it. I have a small business, but I can't get the PPE in order to continue filming. Where can I get assistance with getting some?
Amazon. I mean, you know, that's just not my wheelhouse. I don't know. I guess you could, there's not like a state repository of PPE, but I don't think there's a real shortage of PPE right now in the masking and things. It's a lot out there, but I would say, yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something specific, I mean, I think there seems to be plenty out there now. I bet Alison has a truckload of it sitting outside of her office right now. You could probably give you an address. You could go break into that tonight.
I have a trunk of it. I don't know what you're looking for, but Amazon, we get almost all of ours from Amazon. And also at the very beginning when things were really, really tight and you couldn't find like hand sanitizer and KN95 masks, medical supply houses seem to have a lot of it. And you know, the places that you'd go to get a wheelchair or, you know, crutches or stuff like that, they seem to have a lot of it, and people just didn't know to go. But Amazon, it hasn't slowed us down. We haven't had, Lord knows, we all have 20 shields in the back seats of our cars because you just keep forgetting to take them out. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and thanks, Katy. You hit all of us off at the pass and put the links directly into the chat. So it looks like Charmaine or Carter from Carter Entertainment got her questions and a couple of links there. Well, we've come up on that on 8 o'clock, and just want to thank everyone for participating tonight, particularly our panelists, Katy, Alison, and Andy. You know, I know it's not easy to be on Zooms as much as you guys are, but of course, you know, that's why we only want to keep this to an hour. But we really appreciate you you spending one more hour on a Zoom than you probably needed to. And if you're not a member, a VPA member, of course, we're doing $35 for new members, which is a $15 discount. Go ahead and join now to benefit from future Zooms just like this one. Tonight was a free event, but we are having a Zooms all month long. Next Wednesday is one with Jerry Williams, where he's going to be discussing his Dirt Woman documentary, which was a low budget documentary made about the cult figure of Donnie Corker, who is kind of infamous for since the 70s cult personality here in Richmond. And of course, your dues helps support the legislative action needed to attract film and television production, which Andy had talked about a little bit earlier tonight. And then last but not least, it's a wrap. So thank you again, and have a good night, and we'll see you at one of our other events. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
so much.
Hope
Take care.
it's real person time next time.
I hope so. See you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Have a good night.